Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Thursday, the 5th of Rabi'ul Awwal 1445, corresponding with the English date 21st of September 2023. Hazrat Wala is saying that I continuously read from the Maktubat-e Ma'asumiyah, the letters of Hazrat Khaja Muhammad Masoom, Sir Hindi. Hazrat Shah Wasiullah Saheb, Alahbadi, used to do the same. Here in front of me, I have a new print of the same Maktubat-e Ma'asumiyah, which I am reading from. It has been printed well. There are many kings that have passed, many wealthy persons in the past, and that they have passed also. They had all the means with them, but they were not afforded the opportunity by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the great fortune of carrying out the sacred journey of Hajj, pilgrimage, Hajj Baytullah. So this year is something very, very great, and may Allah ta'ala show us that reality and make that dream a reality, Hajj of Baytullah. A person can go and see and witness any house, look at any house, whether he goes to Qutub Minar or whether he goes to Lal Qila, there is no reward for him. But when he looks at this house, referring to the Kaaba, Baytullah, the mere glance and just gazing and looking at the Kaaba yields reward for the one who is looking at the sacred and holy house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was sitting there in the haram. There were ulama from Hindustan and Pakistan there as well. And sitting in another direction, immediately they're alerted by saying, no, now is not the time to sit in this direction and this direction or make muraqabah. Rather, now is the time to lift up the head and look at Baytullah. Another one or another point here is that from a distance, a person cannot clearly see the Kaaba, due to which sometimes he even takes a piece of cloth and cleans his spectacles so that now he can see clearly. Hey, there was some dust on my spectacles and now I can see the Baytullah clearly and properly. So to see the Baytullah, the Kaaba, which is made of stones and bricks, to see that clearly you may have to rub your eyes or you may have to clean your spectacles. However, to witness, to behold the barakat, the blessings, the fuyuz, the tajalliyat, the nur of the Kaaba, a person would have to clean and purify his heart. Allah Ta'ala bless us with that. You know, I have seen and read in the kitabs that a buzruk entered the haram and the other buzruk that was residing and present in the haram says that, oh, okay, it was about your arrival. That's why now it makes sense that I see now that the nur and the tajalli on the Kaaba is much more. There is a great increase in it. Hazrat Wala is speaking about his own first-hand experience. He said that I seen a Habshi and an African man looking at the Kaaba, and at that time so taken aback that he was profusely weeping. You know, Hazrat Ali, Maulana Ali Miya Saheb has even written about this here. Muswaddul wujuh, but mubyaddul qulub, that they may be dark in complexion, but their heart is filled and bright and completely pure and white. The complexion may be dark, but the heart is completely illuminated with the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah Ta'ala hum sab ko in batini kaifiyat se nawaze, bless us with these great spiritual states. To Kaaba ra hardam tajalli mi fazud, iche ikhlasat Ibrahim bud, that the Kaaba always is increasing in its nur and its barakat and the tajalli. The Kaaba is continuously increasing in that, and all of this is due to the barakat of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, who laid that foundation with so much of sincerity. काबा भी काबा पर गया फिर न गया इश्क़ बुतों का. A person went to the Kaaba, he visited the Kaaba, he went for Umrah, he went for Hajj, but the love of idols is still sitting in his heart. What to do and how to do, what type of Hajj have you performed. Zamzam भी पिया फिर न बुझी आगे जिगर की. That you drank Zamzam also, but that flame of passions and desires has still not been extinguished from one. You know, when I went to Nanota, Hazrat Wala is saying, I went to Darul Uloom Deoband as well. When I went to Nanota, I said to the people that today you see Hazrat Maulana Qasim Saheb, who laid the foundation of Darul Uloom Deoband with such type of ikhlas, due to which till today you see the barakat of it there at Darul Uloom Deoband. These people became very, very happy because it was a sense of belonging for them. They came from Nanotwa. So I told them this was the ikhlas of Hazrat Maulana Qasim Saheb. Allah Ta'ala bless us also with that Nuraniyat. So anyway, they were saying that this is not the time of muraqabah and lowering your head. Now is the time to lift your head and look at the Kaaba. Hazrat Maulana Abdul Ghani, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, they were present. And what did Hazrat Tanvi have to say to them? He said to them, Ikhlas se kaam karo. To fir Allah Ta'ala qabul farmayega. That listen, you people are going, go and do work with ikhlas and sincerity. It is only then that Allah Ta'ala will truly accept. बुजुर्गों बहुत इखलास के ऊपर जोर देते थे. Our बुजुर्गान दीन used to give a lot of attention and emphasis to that of ikhlas and sincerity. And you would find it was because of this here that you would find so much of nuraniyat you will perceive in their talimat and in their teachings. All of this here we can attribute because or due to the ikhlas and sincerity that they had. You know, we're speaking about some type of dreams. You know, we're reading from this kitab. The kitab is that of Hazrat Khaja Muhammad Masoom, the Maktubat-e Masoomiyya, ke sharait-e wujub ki mawjoodgi mein hajj bhi karna chahiye. When all the conditions and prerequisites are fulfilled, a person should then most definitely go and carry out the sacred hajj and the pilgrimage, or Baytullah ke zariya Allah ka taqarrub dhunna chahiye, and by means of the holy and sacred house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person should then seek and search for the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It comes in the hadith that Hajj Maqbool ka thawab jannat hai, that the reward of an accepted Hajj is nothing other than that of Jannah. So a person then, no ordinary person that we're speaking about, this personality, 7,000 Khalifas alone in the Indo-Pak subcontinent. Nevertheless, Hazrat Wala is speaking about a dream of a person who used to recite abundant durood, and then he used to send it for the Isal-e Sawab of Sayyidah Fatima radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Nevertheless, in the dream, he is shown and he is told that, listen, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam also ate at the house of Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. He sat there. He lived there. Meaning that you reciting durood etc., you sending Isal-e Sawab, so you should do that for Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Nevertheless, these type of things are opened up to our Buzurgan-e Deen. So I was saying, looking at what was said at the top there, Hazrat Wala is saying, कि दिल के पर्दा को पोंछो. So take your hand or that cloth and now wipe the heart or that veil that's in front of your heart, so that you can truly witness the nur and the barakat and the tajalliyat of the Kaaba, the batini aspect. And at every point in time, a person should truly think that these are now the last moments of my life. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, even in that last moments, he could not tolerate. Sometimes a person keeps a container. Now he is mazur, etc. So then sometimes he needs to relieve himself. So you have that type of a container there in that room. Even though that container was washed after that and was clean and pure, he could not tolerate it then being there in that room. This was in his last moments. This was his fikr here on this side. Malum hua कि यहाँ की भी fikr होनी चाहिए. You should have the fikr about this side as well. And similarly, much more than that, you should have the fikr of Dar-e Akhirat. That should be in front of us all the time. It is said about Jannah that just one hand span, or the amount of just one whip, just that 1 meter, half a meter, 2 meters, etc., that amount of piece of land in Jannah is more superior or better than this entire dunya and whatever it contains. Hazrat Tanvi used to say, for that reason, that, oh Allah, bless me with Jannah. I will never ever be able to tolerate Jahannam. No matter what part of Jannah you give me, bless me with Jannah. Now that was his heart. Can you understand his spiritual level or spiritual state? Many people, बहुत से लोग ने हज़रत तानवी को पहचाना नहीं. Many people did not recognize and understand Hazrat Tanvi. तलब इल्मी कि अपने आप को छुपाए रखा है. As a student, just like a student of Deen, he hid himself in all of that. He had such a great wealth with him, but he would always call himself a student. And from amongst the great achievements is what? That fana, annihilation of oneself, self-effacement, etc. But first of all, in that type of department and category is ilm ki fana, that that effacement and annihilation of that knowledge that a person has. When Hazrat Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi went to Thana Bhawan, then people frowned on that. Nevertheless, on his return, when people asked him that, an alim of your caliber, you went, what did you achieve? What more could you have learned? You are Allama, Sayyid Sulaiman Nadwi. He said, apne jahl ka ilm ho gaya. I've gained the knowledge of my ignorance. I had not this knowledge, that knowledge. I conquered, I encompassed, I achieved so much. But what knowledge did I gain? I gained the knowledge of my ignorance. Now truly I have been blessed with this knowledge, that how ignorant after all I was. Allahu Akbar. ये भी एक चीज है हासिल करने की. This is also something that's supposed to be acquired and something that's supposed to be achieved. An alim went to Hazrat Tanvi. Nevertheless, when he went there, Hazrat Tanvi then said to him that, listen, while you are here, there is no permission for you for mukatabat and mukalamat. You will not be allowed to speak and you will not be allowed to engage in any type of communication by means of letter. Nevertheless, some ulama came and some discussion went up, and in all of that, he spoke. The person who was asked, and he was told when he came to spend time with Hazrat Tanvi that listen, you are allowed to stay. You can stay here in my sohbat and in my khidmat, but you are not allowed to talk or you're not allowed to write any letters. Nevertheless, he spoke. When he spoke, Hazrat Tanvi said, didn't we make an arrangement and have had an agreement that you will not speak? Okay, do me a favor, stand up and leave. You are dismissed. Leave and go from here. Nevertheless, he was intelligent, so he stood up and he said that Hazrat, let me tell you why I actually spoke. So Hazrat Tanvi then gave him the opportunity. He says, okay, tell me, why did you speak? He said that all the ulama were gathered here and they were speaking, academic discussion, this one saying that, this one saying that. In all of that, I also wanted to put my piece in so that these people do not understand me to be an ignorant or a jahil. That's why I spoke. So he said, sit down, because my diagnosis and what I stipulated for you, my tashkhis and my tajweez was exactly to the point, to the T, on the dot. Sit down, you may remain. Meaning that iqrar-e-jurm. He confessed and he said, this is actually why I spoke. And Hazrat Tanvi's what he stipulated for him and what he had diagnosed already when this person came was truly to the T. Now all of this type of things was in the khidmat of Hazrat Tanvi. These things used to happen. You know, by Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb also we had to write our halat. That listen, this is my spiritual state, this is what I'm experiencing, this, that and the other. Now you tell me, sometimes when a person goes to a physician, a doctor for his body, here in this dunya, do you go to a hakim? And when a person wants to relate what is actually happening with him, sometimes he fumbles and he stumbles. Rather, he cannot even truly express himself what type of trouble his body and his mind is going through regarding his physical sickness. Then tell me, how much more difficult is it not for a person actually to relate or pass on or to say about his spiritual ailments or what he is perceiving in his heart? Hazrat Maulana Ali Miah has written about this here. Hazrat Wala mentioned about it, spoke about it earlier on, that people sometimes may be muswaddul wujuh, dark in complexion, but munawwarul qulub, mubyadul qulub, most definitely they are bright-hearted. Their hearts are illuminated with the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That outward dark complexion means nothing whatsoever. So Hazrat Wala himself is saying, I see this Habashi African man right in front of the Kaaba, but so taken aback, so affected by the nur of the Kaaba, that standing there, looking at the Kaaba and weeping tremendously, uncontrollably. So all of this here, so what would I say? Is this marifat? No, you take this marifat and take that marifat and that marifat and put it all together. It is ma'arif. It is ma'arif, this recognition which we should have. Hazrat Wala thereafter goes on to say and speak about Hajj, ziyarat khana Kaaba bod, Hajj mardana, ziyarat Rabbul Bayt bod. That listen, Hajj in essence is for a person to undertake this journey where he goes to the Kaaba. That is Hajj. Outwardly, externally. But Hajj Mardana, the genuine Hajj, the Hajj of the true men of Allah, is actually when a person goes and visits the owner of the Kaaba. Ziyarat Rabbul Bayt. He doesn't just go and visit the Kaaba and go around the Kaaba. He actually goes and meet the owner of the Kaaba. So coming back to those points, person cleaning his spectacles so that he can actually see the Kaaba properly and clearly. So it's not only about the outward. He's supposed to be seeing the tajalliyat, the nur and the barakat that is descending there in the haram upon the Kaaba. So it's not only about the kalima. Rather, it's much more than that. What about salat? The most proximity that a person can achieve is by means of that of salat. Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala an salat was the closest, ashbah, to the salat of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Somebody asked that, listen, we want to see a salat of khushu, complete concentration, dedication, in front of Allah, humility, khushu, wali namaz. So what was he told? That Mauli Wasiullah ka namaz dekho. If you really want to see that type of namaz, go and have a look at the salat of Mauli Wasiullah. Nevertheless, Hazrat Wala was going. I was speaking about Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab when he was very, very tender. Our Hazrat Wala is saying, I was very, very young at that time. I was a young boy. And Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab came to our house. His head was on the ground. He was in sajda, crying, weeping and making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, at that age, I only understood dua was this when a man lifts his hands and makes dua to Allah. But I seen firsthand at that age, and I witnessed that what type of a buzruk is this, that he's crying in sajda and making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What about that incident? Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to enter the masjid, and you would have these people who'd stand in respect and honor of him. This would upset him tremendously, and he would say, masjid is where we come and show our respect to Allah, to honor Allah and make ta'zim of Allah. You are standing up and honoring me. Why would you do something like that? Stop it. Sit down. Don't stand. Nevertheless, this happens a second time, and the person is reprimanded and told again. And then it happens again, and Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab says to this person that, why do you do this? Didn't I tell you that? And then he goes on to say that, Hazrat, kya kare? क्या किया जाए हम तो सरकारी मुलाजिम रहे. We worked in these departments, in the army and in the high offices, that when our superiors would come, we would stand, we would put our hand on our heads to salute, etc. When we lived and spent our entire lives in this way, I have reached old age, I'm in pension now, and when I see a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, should I not now stand in respect and in honor of him? At that time, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab remained silent, and he never prevented that person after that. But his usul was, he never liked someone to stand in honor of him, more so if that person had to do it in the masjid. So adab. Hazrat Maulana such type of adab, I can't even explain to you, that even when Allama, he opened up the doors of adab and taught us all these etiquettes. This is Buzruk, and he said, it's in the works, it's written in the kitabs as well. He went and he said that I stayed 1 year to learn ilm and knowledge at the feet of this great muhaddith and alim. And then after that, I stayed another 9 years to learn adab and etiquettes. Adab, respect. I stayed 9 years more. You know, Hazrat Tanvi on one occasion mentioned in his majlis that there are some people that come and attend my majlis. Their state of heart and mind is such. They are here, but they are not here. They don't even know or have any idea of what is happening in this world. That is their spiritual state. Nevertheless, a man of the caliber of Hazrat Khaja Azizul Hasan Madzub rahimahullah comes to Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab after the majlis, and he said, Mauli Wasiullah, do you know that Hazrat was referring to you when he said this in the majlis? Now look at he was from the Ajalle Khulafa. He was a very great Saheb and Nisbat. But look at him, he's coming and he's saying straight, do you know Hazrat was saying this about you? Allahu Akbar. Allah Ta'ala ne unko kamilul hal banaya. Allah Ta'ala blessed him with such exceptional and excellent spiritual states and levels of perfection. So at the time of when he was leaving for his Hajj, and that eventually proved to be his last journey, he didn't even reach Baytullah, rather he reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and passed away before that. The crowds were tremendous. People came in droves. People came, waves and waves of people, that the police had to be called in and he had to be then escorted. And then because of the crowds, this being pushed this way, that way, despite police presence and despite being surrounded by the police at that time. Nevertheless, after all of that, and he just got onto the deck of the ship, I was there, Hazrat Wala is saying, and what was his impression? He said, "Maar dalenge." That what's happening is as if these people will kill me. And then instantaneously, spontaneously, the next words he said, "Ma'an, ma'an." Immediately, what did he say? That Mohammad hi mein to kar rahe hain, hai na? But what to do? What to say? All of this, they are doing it all in the name of love, isn't it? Nevertheless, it was such a type of a spectacle. We were there at the shores, Bombay, that manzar, e tamasha e ga. So it was an ajib scene and spectacle. I mean, the Arabic, the Farsi couplets are there. I'm not able to pick that up now correctly, but I'm going to give you the meaning of it. That the countenance and the face of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab itself was the spectacle on its own. Leave alone this or that or the other. At that time, he was on the deck of the ship, and in front of him, hundreds, thousands of people had gathered. What can I say? Ulama, from start to end, whoever was there was there. You would be able to understand that there. At that time, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab raised his hands. And I can tell you about that spectacle and scene first hand. Hazrat Wala is saying that that entire gathering, hundreds and thousands of people, just by the mere lifting up of the hands in dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, reduced that entire gathering to tears. People were weeping profusely. Nevertheless, from amongst the things that he said to the daughters, what did he say when he was leaving? That how am I going to walk there? But there I'll just go. I'll be able to walk. I'll be in the haram and I will walk on my own. But Hazrat never reached his destination. He reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, when I was at that conference, ulama conference, Hazrat Wala is saying, and what had happened? Muhaddithin from all over the country had gathered. At that time there, I was given 15 minutes to talk right at the end. And I said, listen, up till now, we were speaking about the zahar of the hadith, the external dimension of the hadith, so much of kalam we made, this, that and the other. And then I went on to say that, listen, we understand well from the hadith that the Quran itself has an external dimension and an internal dimension. Quran ka zahar and batan, the external and the internal. Hazrat Wala thereafter went to explain to that majma that was in front of him that to understand the external dimension of the Quran, you would need the external dimension of the hadith. And to understand the internal dimension of the Quran, you would need the internal dimension of the hadith. Because the hadith is the sharih. The hadith is actually the explanation of the Quran Majid. Allahu Akbar. And then he went on to say, up till now you were speaking about the external dimensions. Now listen, let us all get together and come onto the path, or at least start treading the path of the internal dimension of the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nevertheless, Maulana Taqiyuddin was so overtaken that from his place he stood up and he jumped onto the stage, and he was overwhelmed at that time. He was completely overtaken. He became so happy, so happy. The people there also were extremely happy that you had turned our attention to this, and there was a great zarurat for it. Yes, because the ahadith is not just a name of words. Rather, we need to get the internal dimension of it as well. And the ma'rifat, Hazrat Thanvi went to Sheikh Fadlur Rahman Ganj Moradabadi. What was it about? In his own capacity, wasn't he Hazrat Thanvi? But he still went there. He went there for ilm. Hazrat Shah Abdul Rahim went to Hazrat Sayyid Saheb. And then people said to him, but why are you going there? You have hundreds and thousands of your own murids and disciples. You are a man of your own capacity on your own. And what did he say? Yes, I was reading Salat. Lekin, after going to Hazrat Sayyid Saheb, namaz padne ka dang aa gaya. I really understood truly how to perform Salat. Islah ki fikr ho gayi. I got a deeper concern for my Islah. And Allah Ta'ala bless us with that. So, do not just restrict it to the Zahiri Islah, however, Batini Islah as well. What can I say? It was because truly of my bad isti'dadi, Hazrat Wala is saying, that I could not achieve, that I did not have that capacity and capability. But most definitely, I did not achieve that, but I have knowledge of it because I stayed there and I seen it, and that's why I can pass it on to you. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, for wudu, his wudu alone, he attached so much of importance to it. I can say without any type of exaggeration, 15 to 20 minutes was passed in wudu. Now for us just to understand, I am saying this from my side here, that he wasn't wasting any water there, but how he was making that wudu, how he would brush and how he would do 15 to 20 minutes would go in his wudu alone, in his preparation, that do you not know in front of who I am going to stand? Allahu Akbar. Sometimes we would get Hazrat ready and we would reach the masjid early, and then he was not well, blood pressure, etc. And then he would go on to say, you people brought me here. Don't you understand I'm a sick person and you bring me here like this so early? And on other occasions, we would tell Hazrat, there's still a lot of time. And then he would say, you saying there's a lot of time? Are you stopping me from going to the masjid? We had to go through all of this here. Allahu Akbar. Allah Ta'ala bless us with all of us with afiyat. Sometimes he would say to us, tomorrow I'll give you some nashta. When Hazrat Qari Tayyib Sahab, Allama Balyawi, etc. from Qadir shop, jalebi and puri sabzi, whatever it is, the nashta that were given to the mehman and the guests, he would say to us, tomorrow I'm going to give you people some nashta, something to eat. And then the next day we would wait, and the time would come and he would present to us the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or he would talk some ilmi talk, and then he would go on to say, were you thinking I was going to give you some jalebi? Greater than all of that is this nashta that I am giving you, this ilmi talk, this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allama Ibn Taymiyyah used to say, Hada ghadwati. His dhikrullah after the Fajr Salat until the time of Ishraq, he would say that this is my breakfast. And the day I leave it out, I can actually perceive weakness in my body. I became sick, etc. And what was it? Some type of medication was given to me that's normally given to old people, due to which I became even more sick. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restored my health. Hazrat Wala is speaking about his early days and in his youth. So I say to this ulama that we are quoting Bukhari Sharif. But do you know Bukhari Sharif? Imam Bukhari himself to note one hadith in his compilation in Jami' Sahih al-Bukhari. What did he do? He carried out ghusl. He made ghusl before and performed salat before he noted out down one hadith in his compilation Sahih al-Bukhari. Hazrat Maulana Habibur Rahman Azmi was leaving. He's going back home. He used to come and visit Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Partapgari. And then he leaving, he says, Hazrat, the next time I come, I'll relate one hadith to you. You have the saint par excellence, and on the other side you have this buzruk, this muhaddith par excellence. And he's saying, Hazrat, the next time I come, I'm going to relate a hadith to you. At that time, truly, our Hazrat Wala is saying, I really understood what is happening here. I witnessed it in front of me. This is the amount of qadr and appreciation and importance they attach to one hadith. He did not say, the next time I come, I will bring you this sweater or this inner that you will wear in the winter, or I'll bring some apples for you, or this or that or the other. Allahu Akbar. But what to do and what to say? He could never come back. He never was meant to come back again, meaning he had passed away. But I'm telling you these things that happened decades ago. I can remember it as clear as ever. There is no effect in my memory. It hasn't been affected in any way. I'm relating it to you. In the old days, they would not use the word waz and what do you call this here? Waz, bayan, talk and sermon. They would say hadith. They would say, ab hadith hogi. In the old days, many decades ago, that's what the term was used in that time. So most definitely, there is deficiency in amal. However, in the ilm and what we seen and we learned, and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Quran, which is in front of us, can there be any deficiency in that? That's here, it's in front of us. In our amal, most definitely there is deficiency in the Quran and in the hadith and in the ulum and all that. There's no deficiency whatsoever. So Allah Ta'ala bless us with the ruh and the essence of ilm deen, and give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of acquiring it. Ye koi kam nashta hai? Is this some small snacks or breakfast that I am giving you here? And then he would present a hadith to us. Allahu Akbar. So these personalities, they knew so much about the genuineness and the essence and the ruh of all these things. So people would rather die, but they would not want to listen to one ayat of the Quran Majid, one hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A person was leaving, and Hazrat Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ganj Alahbadi was there, and then he stopped. I don't know, was it Hazrat Tanvi or was it someone else? He stopped them and he said, don't leave now. I'm starting my dars of Abu Dawud Sharif. It wasn't Bukhari Sharif, Abu Dawud Sharif. Wait a little and you can participate in the starting of this dars of Abu Dawud Sharif, and after this dars then you may leave. Allahu Akbar. This was the azmat for Quran, the azmat for hadith, azmat. That importance that Imam Bukhari used to make ghusl for every hadith that he noted. According to that azmat and that respect and that importance that you attach to all of this, accordingly you would be blessed with that type of qurb and proximity. Allahu Akbar. What can I tell you? There is much difficulty, but when I sit and then I just start speaking away. Allah Ta'ala bless us with great affinity with this great deen of ours. So people stand up. I don't even want to take the name. If we have to say there's going to be a class for tafsir, or tafsir of the Quran is going to be taught, or hadith we are going to present to you, people stand up and they walk away. How is this? But look on the other side. When Hazrat Shah Waliullah came, people would have gatherings and they would sing ash'ar, etc. Gulista, bosta, this, that and the other. And Hazrat Shah Waliullah's maqsad was what? For the first time, the Urdu tarjuma of the Quran Majid was presented, because the people there, their language was that of Urdu, and his maqsad and his vision was that everywhere there should be a halqa of learning and teaching of the Quran Majid, where you can understand that what is the message of Allah to humanity. Allah Ta'ala bless us with qadr for the deen. This dawlat is no some ordinary wealth. It is some great wealth. This year is truly a great wealth. تركت فيكم شيئين أمرين إن تمسكتم بهما لن تضلوا. I'm leaving you, but I'm leaving you and going, but I leave with you the Quran and Hadith. If you hold on tight to it, you will never ever go astray. Now tell me, is this one Hadith not sufficient for us to tell us the importance of Quran and Hadith? Allahu Akbar. Allah Ta'ala let Quran and Hadith be part of our ma'mul and our daily practices, where we read Quran and Hadith, learn and understand Quran and Hadith. Allah Ta'ala inspire us with that. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.